13 in college football here at SBR Forum Videos. I'm Peter Loshak, and we are joined once again by returning guest Doug Upstone from sports-watch.com. Doug, thanks for being back with us this week.
Peter, it's wonderful to be back with the big Thanksgiving weekend coming up here and lots of great football to be played.
Yeah, I bet it's a lot better coming back here after a winning week than a losing week, right?
That's always the case.
I'll tell you, last week you dressed up, you looked super sharp, super spiffy from the waist up with a nice pressed shirt, ironed, and a nice flattering tie. And you said the reason you were doing that is to convey your seriousness, that you were going to bring us winners. And I knew you were going to do it because you'd had like sort of a so-so bunch of weeks before then, and I knew you were going to do it. You went 2-1, including calling for an outright win by Rutgers as a 6.5-point underdog, and they did in fact get the outright win, winning 10-3. Great week, Doug.
Thank you. And I'm never one to just, was maybe a little superstitious. So trying out the shirt and tie once again here is just to, try and keep a good thing going.
No, man, you want to be a winner, you got to look like a winner. All right, let's talk about the first game. Arizona State at Arizona is the first game you chose this week. And this is an interesting game for a few reasons. First of all, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you take this game last week and you told us that the under is always a great bet in Arizona State against Arizona? And I think that was you, and I remember.
That wasn't me. Now, but I have to say, along that line, over the years, this is, in terms of rivalry games, this is one of my favorite each and every year.
All right, I'm pretty sure it was you, though, who said take the unders in Arizona States every year, and I remember it was a great pick, and I tailed it. Maybe it wasn't you. At any rate, this game has Arizona as a 3-point home favorite, total 68.5, and I would tend to like the under a bit as well, although there are two first-year coaches, so you can't really look at past performances and think that you're going to see sort of the same things totals-wise that you saw last year. In terms of the spread, though, I have to say I'm really liking Arizona State here. Arizona State, again, is a 3-point underdog. I think they're going to get an outright win. Arizona's defense is very iffy. They're kind of hanging on by a thread, as their coach has said. Their quarterback is having some issues with concussions, and he didn't really play that sharp last week. And Arizona State is, they're having a great year. They're in good form after getting a blowout win against Washington State last week. I'm thinking Arizona State as an underdog is a great bet here. What do you think?
Well, in this game, this is actually only the second time since 1996, Peter, that the Territorial Cup will be fought for by teams with winning records. So, the history is kind of weird in that regard with these teams. But for those not familiar with this particular game, this is one of the more fierce rivalries in college football. And the actual Territorial Cup is recognized by the NCAA as the oldest trophy of its kind, which was first played and handed out in 1899, which is 13 years before Arizona officially became the last of the continuous 48 United States. Now, enough of the history lesson. Let's go on to the game.
Right. Let's get a winner here.
Arizona has won their last four of their last 5 games under first-year coach Rich Rodriguez, in really a tremendous and surprising turnaround season. As you mentioned, Peter, Arizona offense, they can pretty much do it all. Examples are the 438 yards rushing they had against Colorado, to throwing for 491 yards against Stanford. Matt Scott, as you mentioned, came back from the concussion last week. Wasn't great, but his past has shown that he's actually a very good thrower. The problem, as you mentioned, though, Peter, is the defense for the Wildcats, which is a real concern, ranked 117th in yards allowed. Now, Arizona State, as you mentioned, they did end their 4-game losing streak last week, and a win at Tucson guarantees their first winning season since 2007. The Sun Devils have the superior defense by a whopping 153 yards, which I think could slow down Arizona's multifaceted offense just enough and help the Arizona State offense, led by quarterback Taylor Kelly, to add a few more points on their side. Now, rivalry games are actually far different than your typical October college football games, and here is why I'm backing the visiting team. Besides the superior defense, in common opponents, the Devils have outscored their 6 foes by 1.5 points per game, while the Wildcats have been outpointed by 10.7 points per game. As you mentioned, ASU is catching 3 points, and the underdog is 6-1-1 in recent games. And finally, as I mentioned, this is one of my favorite wagers in rivalry games. And why? The visitor is an amazing 15-4-1 against the spread. In this day after Thanksgiving duel in the desert, it's Arizona State as your outright winner.
Wow. I can't see what that was on the monitor, but I have a feeling it was quirky, a little bit uncomfortable, and in the end, pretty funny. Doug Upstone from sports-watch.com. What can I say? I completely agree with you. I think Arizona State is a decent bet here. Actually, quite a good bet to get an outright win. I might even sell them all the way up to like -2 or even -3 and get huge plus odds, something like that. Thanks so much, Doug. Great preview.